Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to address something that I think does a lot of damage, quietly, persistently, in the background of people's lives. And that is the idea that when you can't stick to a healthy diet, when you keep reaching for the chips, or the sugar, or the fast food even though you genuinely don't want to, the problem is you. Your weakness. Your lack of discipline. Your willpower. I want to challenge that today. Not to let anyone off the hook, but because the science is pointing in a very different direction, and understanding that direction might actually be the thing that finally helps. Here's where I want to start. Research conducted on the gut-brain connection over the last 15 years has fundamentally changed how scientists think about food cravings. For a long time, cravings were treated as a psychological issue, a matter of emotion, habit, or moral failing. But studies have now shown that the bacteria living in your gut can directly influence your brain's reward circuitry. In one study, researchers examined how gut microbiome composition affected food preferences and impulse control in young adults. What they found was striking. Individuals with a higher ratio of certain bacteria, particularly those from the Firmicutes phylum, showed stronger cravings for high-fat, high-sugar foods, and also demonstrated lower activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain responsible for self-regulation and decision-making. Let that sit for a moment. The bacteria in your gut are not passive passengers, they are active communicators. They produce neurotransmitters, they send signals through the vagus nerve, and they influence the levels of dopamine and serotonin in your brain. And some of them, particularly those that thrive on sugar and refined carbohydrates, essentially lobby your brain to keep feeding them. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a group of employees who get paid only when you eat sugar. Of course they're going to do everything in their power to make sure you keep eating it. They will affect your mood when you don't. They will make the craving feel urgent and emotional. They will make the apple on the counter feel completely unappealing while the chocolate in the drawer feels like a necessity. This is not a metaphor for weakness. This is microbiology. A study looking at dietary behavior in adults between 20 and 35 found that gut dysbiosis, an imbalance in the microbial communities of the digestive tract, was significantly associated with higher rates of binge eating, emotional eating, and difficulty adhering to dietary changes. Importantly, the researchers noted that these behaviors decreased meaningfully when participants underwent gut microbiome interventions. Even without any specific psychological or behavioral therapy, the gut changed, the behavior changed, not the other way around. There is also the insulin and blood sugar dimension to consider. Research has shown that chronic consumption of ultra-processed foods, the kind that dominates the diet of most young adults today, leads to fluctuating blood glucose levels that trigger cortisol spikes, increase stress hormones, and create a neurological state that literally impairs willpower. In a study examining decision-making under low blood glucose conditions, participants consistently made more impulsive choices and had reduced capacity for long-term thinking. Your brain runs on glucose. When levels crash after a spike, your brain enters a kind of emergency mode, and in that mode, it reaches for the fastest available energy source. This is not a personal failure. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. What I find most compelling about this research is that it reframes the entire conversation. We have spent decades telling people to try harder, eat less, choose better. And for most people, that approach fails not because they aren't trying, but because they are fighting their own biology without knowing it. The gut is inflamed, the microbiome is imbalanced, blood sugar is dysregulated, and in that state, willpower is genuinely not the limiting factor. The internal environment is. One study I came across examined why so many people fail at dietary changes within the first few weeks. The answer was not motivation or knowledge. Most participants understood what they were supposed to eat. The barrier was physiological, withdrawal-like symptoms from processed foods, shifts in gut bacteria causing mood instability and fatigue, and hormonal fluctuations that made healthy food feel genuinely unrewarding to the brain's dopamine system. This is the same mechanism behind other forms of dependency. The brain has been calibrated to a certain input. Changing that input causes real biological discomfort, not imagined weakness. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you have tried and failed to change your eating habits, maybe many times, you are not broken. You are not undisciplined. You are dealing with a system that has been shaped, over time, by what you have eaten, how you have slept, how much stress you have carried, and what your gut microbiome has learned to expect. And systems can be changed. But they need to be approached as systems, not as character flaws. The path forward isn't about gritting your teeth harder. It's about understanding the biological levers that are actually driving your choices and learning how to shift them. gradually and sustainably, from the inside out. That's what this channel is about. Not perfection, not willpower, just the truth about how your body actually works. Because once you understand that, everything changes.